Uh, All right, welcome everybody. Team Building Tuesday, and I'm excited about tonight because, as I just mentioned before I started the recording, I really think the content that we're going to talk about tonight is one of the most, if not the most, it could be the most important Zoom of your career. Whether you are brand new or whether you've been in for 10 or 15 or 20 years, this can be a game-changing Zoom for you if you take what we talk about and you implement. There's three topics we're going to talk about tonight. And we're going to start with the onboarding process. Then we're going to go to the 72-hour rule. And then we're going to wrap up with showing the plan with a pen and pad and refer you to a video that you can master that process by doing it alongside of the video. But we're going to talk to you about the benefits. So let's get started with the first topic. And by the way, if you master and you understand the application of all three of these strategies we're going to talk about tonight, it will not only speed up your success, they're three of the most important things to duplicate within a team. So it's not only critical for you to do yourself, but critical to get everybody in your team to do also. And it's going to make all the difference in the world. It really, really will. This is one of those things that I think you can be at 110 or 210 or 211 degrees, and you're just hot water. But when you master these three things, it puts you at that 212 degree water, which creates steam that can move, 1,000-ton vessels through the ocean. But when you're only 210 degrees, it's still hot water, but it doesn't create the steam that has the power. It's just those extra couple degrees. And I think this really can do that for you. So let me get started. I want to congratulate everybody for being on here live. The live people, it's kind of like the front row when we're in person that we're coming back again. We always call them the $1 million seats. You guys are live. Again, yes, I know it takes sacrifice and commitment. And if you're watching recording, I'm not picking on you, but I'm picking on you. In the sense that, hey, sometimes it's worth making a sacrifice and commitment, even if it's just doing something like throwing an earbud in and doing what you got to do, right? Just listening. You can watch the recording later, but just be in the front row, right? And that's what we're talking about here. And that's what you're going to get from me a lot over the next 6 months, because this next 6 months is going to be an epic game-changing time because we're transitioning back into live in-person things. It's happening faster than we thought. It took way longer than we thought it was going to, but now it's happened so fast, which is great. But there's very important things, and I'm really going to emphasize the things. What I'm a master of, we all played it by ear last year because none of us knew how to build virtually. We did the best we could, and I think we did some of the best job. We grew our business like crazy. But I'll tell you, the one thing me and the rest of this team that's been around with me for many years is the best at is we know how to build the business in person, right, Maleva? I mean, we know how to build this business in person, right? And when Gina and I first met and connected, and she decided she wanted to go from a stable and waiting unfranchised owner, like the product and maybe sold a little bit, to a business builder, we got together, at the coffee shops, right? And we started showing the plan with a pen and pad. We're going to talk about that at the end. And that what turned Gina Connor into the Gina Connor that you see today, building the business, because she mastered our plan by learning how to use a pen and pad. And that means she understood it, fell in love with it, and then she could do it any other way she wanted to, whether it's a PowerPoint, a slideshow, whatever. But anyway, let's get started with the first process. If I get crackly, I think I'm good, but if I get crackly, just a couple of you guys just like wave at me or something, so I know if I get crackly here. But I'm going to share my screen for a few things. First and foremost, let's go through the onboarding process. The onboarding process is critical. You set people up for success or you set people up for failure by the way you bring them into the business. Let me just be clear on that. And there's some essential things that must happen when you're bringing people on board. I'm going to go through each of these three things from my perspective, Gina, and then I want you to go back and just review it yourself, right? Because I'm going to high speed through this and then turn it over to you and have you do the same thing from your perspectives, okay? So, because I want you guys to hear from both of us. So the first thing is onboarding. The way you onboard people is you're setting up for success or you're setting them up for failure, how you bring them in. There's a method to the madness. There's a purpose for everything that we do. But the most important thing is when people come to the business, think about this from a builder standpoint. I had a background in building and construction, right? If you want to build a successful building, the most important part is what happens before you start building the walls and the frame. It's the foundation. Wouldn't you guys agree? It's you dig a deep foundation, you put in footings, you know, you pour the concrete, you make sure it has a wrought iron, so you have the strong foundation so that when you actually build the house, it's on something that won't shift, move, and collapse the rest of the building. The building's only as strong as the foundation, right? So what this is about, creating a solid foundation for every unfranchised owner, but also creating a solid process that every unfranchised owner uses when they bring someone else on, because it's what was used on them, right? And it's a duplicatable process that everybody needs to have and to go through. Now, I do want to preface this by saying this. You also, so that when you bring people in, you're setting them up for success and failure, but it's based upon what they want to do with the business. So when you're bringing somebody in, you do have to realize what the person that you're dealing with and what their goals are. You'll have people that want to come in just to retail the product and get the product at wholesale cost. I call those wholesale customers. There's nothing wrong. They're great. We have a lot of them like that. They're not going to want to build the business if they come in like that. And if you try to get them to do any more than what they want to do, guess what happens? You actually push them out. You can actually scare them away. So you have to know when to meet people where they're at. And I always say, you want to meet people where they're at, and then go 1 or 2 degrees warmer with them every once in a while to start introducing them to where things are. It's how Vina Hudgens got here, by the way. She was introduced to me by somebody else. She just wanted our nutritionals to offer in her store, right? And in her storefront with her studio, essentially. So the reality for her was, I met her and I explained to her how NutriMetrics nutritionals could work in her spa, and she always gets mad when I call it a spa salon, in her studio, right? But then what happened was, I introduced her to a little bit more and a little bit more. Lisa got her she knew skincare, so she got her to do a training on skincare, which essentially got her to learn about our skincare, to fall in love with it because she wanted her to train on the ingredients of it. And then I got her to go to a conference. So you meet people where they're at, right, Vina? And then you introduce them moving forward. So you have to know where to meet people and then go from there moving forward, right? So keep that in mind, okay? But I'm going to talk to you guys like you guys are all wanting to make 6 figures, and you have people coming in. They want to treat this like a serious part-time business that could build them a full-time income. Let's just say a full-time income. Maybe not, that's what we're talking about when you're onboarding people. No matter how they come in, you do want to eventually get them through this, but remember, you have to meet people where they're at. And if their goal is a full-time income or 6 figures, this is required with them. You can't shortcut this. It's not like, hey, I want 6 figures, but I don't want to do the work. Well, you can't meet them halfway there. You just have to be clear. Does that make sense? So if Maleva comes to me and say, Don, I want to, in 2 years, I want to have $1,500 to $2,100 a week coming into business, right? But I only want to, show one plan every month, and I don't want to be a part of this, and I don't want to be on a Zoom or 2, and I don't want to go to the trainings. I'm going to stop there and say, all right, so we have an issue here, Maleva. We need to find out. We need to line up what you want in terms of the results with the activity is necessary to get there. So tell me this: do you want to reduce the goal or increase the activity? It's you know what I mean? It's up to you what you want to do. But they have to be able to commit to these minimum activity. If they want to have a substantial income coming from this, this is it. So let me show you guys this. And again, this is what we call the onboarding guide. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, this simply is a checklist I created for myself. Okay. And I use this for in fact, I have it right here, right? I always have it, I was using it earlier, showing people. Every single person, right, that I bring into business, that I'm personally working with, I have an onboarding checklist sheet for them. They're all right here. Okay. And the ones that are still in here, the ones that aren't completed yet. Okay. And this is what happens. The first page you can throw away. I have it online. It's an onboarding checklist guide, right? Second page, this is what I hand a new person. This is basically a 1-page that tells you the basic fundamentals of hey, if you do everything on this sheet, you're going to get where you want to go. The last thing, so you give them page 1, it's a cover page. Page 2, By the way, this is not something I created this to track for myself and make sure I was being transparent with people that are coming in on what it takes to be successful, right? That's what it was. I basically took the getting started guide, just so you guys know, and I shrunk it down to the fundamental basic necessities plus some customizable things to be on the team, right? Like to be a part of the team community things and the team trainings that we have in addition to what the company has, okay? So I give him that. And then the third page is what I keep for myself. And I use this as a tracking checklist, guys. Every single person that comes into business should have had an onboarding checklist with them. If you didn't, here's what I'm going to recommend you do. Do it on yourself. So the number one first step is to get an onboarding checklist, print it off, and do it with yourself. So you know exactly what it takes, and you are completed the checklist. So then when you try to implement this with other people, you're not a hypocrite. Does that make sense? Hey, I'm doing it with you, but it was never done with me. Well, if I, for example, or one of the senior partners didn't get you through it, or you don't remember it, or whatever, ask us. If we have it, we're going to say, yeah, you went through the whole thing. Or, no, actually, I have you, and there's 4 things still missing. You may have done them, but I'm not aware of them. Let's finish your checklist, because if you know what I mean? But you want to finish it for yourself. Do this to yourself. Even if you went through it and you don't remember, take yourself back through it. Become and experience what this piece is. And it doesn't matter if you've been around like me 22 years. I will take myself back through things on this if I want to recenter my focus on where I need to be. Okay? So just keep that in mind, right? So what you do is when you bring them in the business, you're going to keep every person you're working with directly. And it could be somebody that someone else sponsors, but you're the one working with them. You're going to track an onboarding checklist. You're going to put their name and the date that they started in the business. And then down here, there's 14 items. And in these 14 items, you're going to start going through them. And as you complete each one, you're going to put the date that is completed. This is a great measuring tool for us to measure, monitor, adjust, and control. When you get through people and you have them having each one of these 14 things they completed, that they're a serious unfranchised owner, they're going to win. They're going to succeed. The level of success is going to be how aggressive they build, but they're going to succeed. They're going to make money. They're going to be here with us for the long haul, right? So, and if you notice, a lot of the things are simple, like add them and welcome to the team Facebook page, right? Take a picture with them, add them, welcome them, interact, right? Also, just so you guys know, that's also telling you, be there to interact with people and welcome them, because when your people come on, you want to make sure they're welcome, make sure you're welcoming other people's, right? And just, be welcoming. Don't be weird, be fun, be normal, but be welcoming. Next is opt them into the text messaging group so they can text the MATNT to 833. This is just the only stuff we're putting on here right now, essentially, is like when we're hosting team nationwide team Zoom sessions, right? But whenever we have international convention, that'll be on there. Some of the things that we're promoting that are going to be all across the country, we'll use that. And wherever we're doing team events or whatever, that'll always be on there. Next, opt into the email newsletter. That's at the top of the team Facebook page. Next, send them over the favorite audios, our Dropbox audio link or the Unfranchised Media app, get them signed in, right? Next is make sure the person takes the next local seminar. I mean, literally, your first sit down with people, you can be done that. And then you follow the process. Every single one of these things are critical and essential, okay? So that's the thing. And you don't have to force feed this down people's throat. Some people might do 1 or 2 things every time you meet them, every 2 or 3 days, 1 or 2 things. And in 60 days, you get through this whole thing. Other people might want to be crazy freaks like me, and they want to be done this whole thing in 5 days. You don't know. Meet people where they're at, and if they want to sprint with them. If they want to jog with them. If they want to walk with them, right? You understand? But always be encouraging to get a little more information. But this is just a perfect tool. And for me, if I get through it, this doesn't mean I get through with everybody. I have people that don't finish it simply because they don't want to build a business. That's okay. I let them know. It's fine if you don't want to build a business or make the 6 figures or build it. I'm going to meet you where you're at, but I'm also going to I'm going to always let you know what it takes if you want to get more out of this than you're getting, right? So they don't have a false, sense of, hey, I can get more by not doing more. It's like you can't have $1 million business with 10 cents worth of effort, right? But anyway, it's such a perfect thing. So that's the goal. And using this is key, guys. My number one thing is we need everybody using this tool, because it takes you, and a lot of this stuff being done is contributed to the Getting Started Guide. Now, the Getting Started Guide is just a longer period. The only reason why I haven't created this for myself is because I couldn't keep a Getting Started Guide for everybody I had. And there's a lot more detail in there. This was something I can have on a one page. I can track, am I leading these people right? Am I introducing them to the community, plugging them into the system, right? Getting them to self-educate, plugging them in the system. And then am I hosting their business and product events with them? Am I teaching them how to create their inventory names list, right? Having them go through the Getting Started Guide, making sure they're scheduled into the trainings, have them fill out a home shopping list and doing a shopping assessment to convert their spending into earning. Create an action plan with them, know what they have to do each day, then have them watch the back office trainings, then watch the Unfranchised Manifesto videos to show people what makes us different from JR in detail, who created it, and then introduce them to the leadership book list. It's such a simple process and it works for everybody. So that's that. Very simple, straightforward, and something everybody needs to do. If you aren't doing this, you're leaving it up to chance with your people. And here's the one thing I want to tell you: if I am in 22 years and I will forget these things. Yeah, I'll not intentionally, but just when life's happening, I'll forget them. And then guess what? I can't get upset with people that didn't make it. I have to get upset at myself. You know why? Because I screwed up because I didn't lead them right. Now, some people won't go through it. You can't beat yourself up about that. That's it. But if they're willing to match the efforts and do the minimums, you need to do it with them. You need to guide them right. Don't nickel and dime people. Be honest, show them what they need to do. And that's the process here of what they need to get done. This is the onboarding checklist. So that's that. Now, where you guys can get this, by the way, is right in the team Facebook page. So again, all the resources are available on a team Facebook page. So just go in there, go to files, look for onboarding checklist, it'll pop right up. You can print them off, and you can also, once you opt into the email list, we can send them out so we can make sure everybody has. So that's the first thing, number one. Number two, and I'm gonna have Gina talk about that in a second. Number two is the 72-hour rule. Now, I will tell you right here, if you're getting people started right, their foundation is going to be built solidly, right? So that's number one. No matter how big of a house we build, if we try to build a house on top of dirt, even though the dirt can be rock hard and it seems strong, what happened? And we built a really expensive house, something that looks really, really good. But then all of a sudden it rains and the dirt turns to mud. No matter how strong you think you built that house, guess what happens to it? The mud, the ground shifts and the whole house collapses. No matter how strong you think, you could use the best building material in the world, but if it's sitting on a not solid foundation, it's going to fall apart. And the foundation is the duplicatable things that we have on that onboarding checklist. But now, once we have the foundation at least being established, not be established yet, but we can do these simultaneously. What's neat about our business is you don't have to just build the foundation first and then start building the walls. You can start laying the foundation and start building walls at the same time. And that's the second part, which is a 72-hour rule, all right? This is one thing that all too often is missed and the ball is dropped, and it makes all the difference in the world when you're building a business. It's so easy. It's so easy to miss it. And it's called the 72-hour rule. Let me tell you what it is. I'm going to keep it super simple. Whether you introduce a product to somebody or the business to somebody, and you walk them through either a product demonstration or you have them sample a product, try a product, or you have them buy a product, or you have them evaluate the business and see the business plan, or go to a presentation. The 72-hour rule is this. within a maximum of 72 hours, 3 days, you need to be back with that person and have someone for them evaluate the business or product. That's a 72-hour rule. The 72-hour rule is not you have to be back with them. The 72-hour rule, here's the thing that I can promise you, and I can share this with you. This is a 72-hour rule. After 72 hours of either introducing somebody to a product or the business, you either have progress or regress. You don't stay in the same spot. Just be aware of that. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand you can only do what people are willing to do. They might not be willing to get back together with you within 72 hours and introduce somebody to you to see the business or introduce somebody to you to try a product. But that is, it doesn't matter. I'm not mad. All I'm telling you is, guess what? You're either progressing within 72 hours or regressing. And I want you to think about that, because after 72 hours, they lose something. They lose the edge. They lose interest. They lose momentum. They lose curiosity. A lot of things start to diminish after 72 hours. So you're either progressing or regressing. You have to go get back with people and get to their people within 72 hours, okay? That's the 72-hour rule. Now, I'm going to explain this. I'm going to turn it over to Gina and have her talk about these two, and then have her start talking about, just do a quick one on the drawing out the plan. We're not going to go into detail on that because we're just going to talk to you guys about the benefit of it, of showing a plan through pen and pad. But there's a video that you can watch. And the key is when you practice it, we want you to watch that video. But every time you watch a video, you have to be doing it, right, Gina? Alongside of the video. Do it with the video, because you're going to have muscle memory on how you do it, and you're going to master the process. But these are the three things that made me millions in the business. I just want you guys to know. And probably if I put one ahead of the other ones, it would be this one. And that's the 72-hour rule. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, the foundation was really important too. And then knowing the business plan is really important. So these all work, but these are the three bigs for me, right? So I'm going to give you some creative. Now, obviously, when somebody tries a product, they try a product. Oh, I use this Snap stuff and the stain in my, carpet went away from the wine or whatever. Awesome. Listen, just out of curiosity, do you have somebody else who'd be willing to try this product? Can you introduce me to somebody within the next 2 or 3 days that'd be willing to try the product? In fact, who do you know that would like to, again, and I'm just using this because it was sitting in front of me. It wouldn't be a product that you could do this sometimes, but, it'd be more like digestive enzymes or, one of the like OPC or something like that makes it real, or turn up or something like that, right? So the first thing is I want to get to that person that I just had try a product or buy a product to say, hey, listen, how would you like to earn discounts and potentially free products, right? We have a program that allows people to earn discounts and potentially free products by recommending us other people that are willing just to try the product. They don't have to buy it, but just to try the product. All right, we can get some trial size. Do you have somebody who want to try it? So that's the first thing from a product standpoint. You want to try to get them to introduce you to somebody, right, within 72 hours. Now, guess what? Even though you showed them to a product, you just met someone new, right? That's a possible partner and possible customer, not only for you, but maybe for them if they like the business. Second thing, would be to say, hey, how would you like to earn free product? How would you like to host an event? And if you can host an event, right, this one might go a little further than 72 hours, but you'll book your follow-ups. And I'm going to show you guys what I mean by this. This is how you keep the 72-hour rule intact. If between now, let's just say I'm talking to Gina, and this is solid gold what I'm about to share with you guys right here. This is something that I mastered. Okay, now, and listen to this closely. I showed Gina the plan on Monday, tonight, or yesterday, on Monday. I showed Gina the plan yesterday. And in Gina's schedule to host a group event, right, or a home event now, I want to be back. I'm going back in people's space. I'm going in people's space. I'm showing plans live in person now, So I'm at Gina. I say, Gina, her first available time to do this is Tuesday of next week. That's 8 days. So a lot of people say, well, for the next 8 days, I'm helping Gina, invite people to get to that event. Yeah, I am doing that. but I am losing. I'm regressing during those 8 days. Unless I install the 72-hour rule. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to tell you, and listen to this. This is magic in motion, guys. This is something that I got great at when I was building really fast. And it's something that reminded me when I was preparing for the night, man, I got to do this more again. This is just, especially now that we're getting back in person. Hey, Gina, I'll be there on Tuesday. But let me ask you a question. Who are the 2 to 4 people that you would like to be your VPs? Who are the people that you'd love to kind of be at the top of this thing with you, that you would, if you could hand select 2 to 5 people that you would appreciate to be your top tier people, the people that you love to work with, or the people that are just the most connected? Who would they be, Gina? And she would say Bill, Sam, Mileva, Tina, whatever, right? Okay, listen, Gina, between now and next Tuesday, when we have this event, I want to give these people a special opportunity to evaluate this business before the rest of the public does. You guys getting this? Because these are going to be, you're giving them an opportunity to be one of the top tier people. Steve and I, we did this with his, and like with their top people. We did private individual meetings, right, Steve? And we did them every day almost.
30 people.
Meetings. Yeah, at least.
30,
yeah.
30
So
Are you sharing
yep, there you
including,
go.
the business?
Including Miriam.
Sharing the business. Yeah, Miriam was wonderful. We met with her personally at the office. Sharing the business. So now, so I tell Gina the same thing. So between now and next Tuesday, in 8 days, right? In the next day or two, I always say day or two. I don't say 72 hours. I say the next day or two, right? Worst case, we'll get it a third day, but I want a day or two. Let's get 1 or 2 of those 5 people to sit down and evaluate. Give them an opportunity to see it first before you show it to everybody else, because there's an extra benefit to them to do so. You want to give them a special opportunity, right? And let's sit down and do it with a one-on-one. So I'm going to do that with those 3 to 5 people. So between that week, guess what I'm doing, guys? I'm showing plans to their VIP people that they hand select that they'd prefer to show it to first. And here's the magic of this. During that process, the 72-hour rule is still in effect. Gina's getting more and more excited, and she'll be more effective at inviting people to our meeting next Tuesday. But here's the best part. The ones that we show the business to that end up being interested, or even if they're not, they give us a referral. Guess what all those people are going to be invited to? So it's not just Gina's people that'll get invited to that meeting. Guess who else as well? The people that she showed the plan to that were her top tier people. Does everybody get that? Are we good?
You were silent for about 5-10 seconds.
I knew it. Stupid phone. Everybody's frozen. Am I back?
You're back.
So anyway, from the point that I just said, though, did that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get them leading the people in the process, and those people can bring guests to the actual meeting. So you still install the 72-hour rule in that process, okay? So that is that. Last thing, am I still good, or did I break up again?
Very good.
Okay, cool. All right, last thing, and is in the 72-hour rule. Watch this. How do you get creative if people aren't cooperative? How many people in here have had people not cooperative? They don't want to introduce you to anybody within 72 hours. Anybody ever have that happen beside me? They don't want, yeah, I mean, or I want to understand everything first before I'll be comfortable to recommend you people. Anybody ever hear that? Or, hey, I want to try the product for at least a month before I feel comfortable recommending you people. No matter what you do, I said, well, don't you think it's smart to get other people's opinion of this and help you evaluate it? Watch it with you. It's smart to look at with other people, get other people to observe and evaluate, right? All those things you try, they don't work. And there's a lot of them. Here's the worst case scenario. All right, I totally understand, Gina. You want to use the product for a month. That's fine, right? Hey, Gina, I have a question. Oh, and whatever. Hey, Gina, by the way, I have a question for you. I'm looking for somebody locally, that does hair. Who do you go to for their hair? You guys get this? Now, here's the thing. Great. Who do you go to? And then when they tell you who they go to, all right, awesome. What's their content? Great. I'm going to give them a call and chat with them, just talk to them what they do, how they do it. I might have people send them. Maybe I'll go to myself. Who knows? Obviously, I'm not going to, but you guys get the idea. You're building a new networking connection, but that's a new person that you can communicate with, right? Irrelevant to the business. I just want to meet new people through them that I can have a warm recommendation. And I'm not going to go try to meet them to sell them on the product, meet them to evaluate the business, but I'm just going to what? Meet them for a networking purpose only at first, but that can evolve. Either way, guess what's happened? You still got to people's people in 72 hours, and you're still meeting new people. Who knows where that would lead to later? So get creative in the process moving forward, and you'll see that will lead to either good referral business relationships, but it can also really create incredible prospects and partners over time as well. Last part is the drawing out. We already talked about this. When you learn how to use a pen and pad to show the plan, guess what? You can show it any way you want. You have all the confidence in the world to show the business in any way once you can do it by a pen and pad. I will tell you, we showed more plans faster when I started than any other time because we didn't have crutches. And sometimes crutches, how many people have ever tried to sprint with crutches under 2 armpits? I want you to try it and tell me what will happen. You're going to trip. They'll slow you down, right? You don't want to run with crutches under your arms, right? Doesn't mean you can't use them at times that you need them, but you want to be able to run without them and be able to do everything without the crutches. Because once you see, the interesting about Gina is she knew what she knew she saw things she really, really liked. But I will tell you guys right now, she turned into the Gina you know today because she learned how to show the plan by sketching it out. And that's when you really get it. That's when you are fully ingrained in the process once you can use a pen and pad to show it. Another benefit of learning, especially that we're getting back in person with people, is if you're using a pen and pad to show it, guess what? They can't read ahead of you. It doesn't feel pitchy. There's a lot of benefits. When you do business plans with any successful people, they always use one of these, a legal pad and a pen. Business dealings are done on legal pads. That's how business plans are typically shared. This doesn't mean there's anything wrong with using the PowerPoint or anything wrong with using the flip charts. But worst case scenario, practicing the plan by drawing it out is vital. Practicing a plan with a pen and pad is vital because you get it, and it's the greatest way to answer questions and get people to understand the flow of it, and they're not reading ahead of you like they would with the PowerPoint stuff and having think gaps and missing what you're saying because they're distracted and reading ahead and not really pay attention to your words. They can't read beyond where your pen goes. So there's so many benefits of it, but that's the third thing is learn how to draw it out. So Gina, you take over and take people through your perspectives here, and hopefully I can hear you, but go for it.
Okay.
For those 3 topics.
Yeah. So I was jotting things down because I was like, I'm going to forget. So as far as the onboarding, like Don said, it doesn't always work perfectly every single time, but you have to just make sure it's our job to keep going back and making sure that we get all of those things checked off. And it might take time, and you may not even be able to go through the whole thing all at once, but when you get to the part where it says go through the getting started guide, the most important part for me, the page in the getting started guide that I always go through with a new partner is the commitment page. I make them read it. Like, I don't read it for them. I make them read it, and I'm completely upfront and honest with them. And I say, I want you to go through each one of these things. And if there's anything here that you cannot do or you're not willing to do, please be honest with me, because this is the only way that I'm going to know how to help you and guide you from this day forward, because I want to meet you where you are. So I make them read it though, because it's not real to them unless they're reading it out loud and they're hearing it. And then they're checking it off. Like, okay, are you good with that? Okay, check it off. And then they check it off. So then they have a record of the fact that we talked about this and this was the commitment that you were willing to make. If there's anything on there that they say that they can't do, or they think it's going to be a challenge, or they're just not willing to do it, then we can address it at that time and work around it. And a lot of times it's a timing thing. Like they get a little bit nervous, like, oh gosh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to commit a full 8 to 15 hours a week. Okay, well, that just means it's going to take you a little bit longer to get to your goal, and we can adjust it accordingly. And that's when we go and when we create an action plan for them, then we can adjust things that way. But that's the most important thing. As far as the rest of the getting started guide, I just briefly go through because it is very detailed. It goes, and it's great. It's a great tool, but it is more for us to use as unfranchised owners individually for ourselves to track our own progress. So going through the goals, and I do make sure that they have, you know, phone numbers of senior partners and things like that. Like that's in the beginning too. But other than that, so when you get to the part on the onboarding checklist that says go through the getting started guide, it doesn't mean that you have to go through the entire thing. Is the commitment page. So I just wanted to talk about that. The other thing, as far as the 72-hour rule, it also works the other way. So like you can get people to evaluate the plan to get them to a product event, and then also the other way around. So if you're doing a product event, you always want to make sure that you get some people from that product event to evaluate the plan for the new partner. So that 72-hour rule can work either way. And then also meeting with people individually for product evaluation. So sometimes it's hard for people to get everybody's schedule together to say, okay, I can have a group of people on Thursday night at 7 o'clock to do a product event, but maybe they have some people that are available during the day, you know, and if you're available during the day, start meeting with like 1 or 2 people to evaluate the product. So you don't have to do like a huge event for them if they're willing to do several smaller ones with individuals, a couple people at a time, or even one-on-one. And utilizing the health survey to do that. And there's a lot of, you know, a lot of tools that we can use for that. Now I can mute, there's back. Find that I hear background noise. I don't know if you guys hear that, but
Come on, Barry. It was Barry.
Barry. So that's as far as the 72 hour, the 72-hour rule is just so important. It's just a matter of getting people to follow, just getting that follow-up booked, getting them to evaluate the product, evaluate the business, or even just meeting with them and bringing, you know, just so that you are following up within that 72 hours to introduce them to something new, to keep the, like Don said, the momentum going, the excitement going, the education going, because we have so much to share that you're not going to be able to share everything in one meeting. So no, if I there's so many times where people will say, and I know Claudette can attest to this too, because we go through this a lot, where we book a follow-up and we have people, we say, you know, bring a couple people with you to evaluate. And then they contact us back and they say, I couldn't get anybody. Like I tried, but I couldn't get anybody. Okay, that's okay. We still want to meet because we have some other things that we want to share with you. We have things that we want to, you know, I'm sure you have some other questions. We want to show you Claudette's shop.com site. We want to get you signed up as a customer so you can start shopping. Whatever the case may be, there's so many different things. Don't let them cancel that meeting though, because sometimes they misunderstand and think, oh, they want me to bring some other people and I don't have it. I couldn't get anybody to agree. And then when you do meet with them, help them, like find out what did they say. Oh, you had a little bit of trouble getting somebody to come to
Calls.
Make calls.
Just make the calls with them. I mean, I wouldn't dissect it so much.
Yeah.
But just have them make some calls with you. Most of the time they ask one person or 2 people.
Right.
And
that does.
here's the one thing. If people ask 10 to 15 people, they're always going to have somebody, right? So, you know, just let them save face. Oh, I understand. All right, no problem. Let's just get together. I want to show you some other things. And then when you're together,
Right.
then say, all right, well, hey, let's invite 3 or 4 people now. Let's give them some calls,
Yeah.
and then you can emphasize the evaluation approach and say, in fact, let me make a call first so you can hear how I approach it. And then you can just repeat what I do, right? You understand? So anyway, I just want to throw that out.
Yeah.
All right, so Gina, before I turn it back over to you to wrap it up with
Go ahead.
before I turn it back over to you to wrap up the plan showing side, I have 2 action steps for you guys, 2 vital action steps. Number 1 is get the onboarding checklist and go through it for yourself. Like I already said that, right? Every one of us, let's all post it. When we get finished our onboarding checklist for ourselves, let's all post it on a team page. Hey, I just finished my own, for myself, I just redid my onboarding checklist, right? Do it for yourself, right? And if it says HPP, host a meeting to show the plan for yourself. If it says do a product event, host your own product event. Do everything on there that you would do with a new person. And then we'll start posting them, right? So everybody can see that we're doing them for ourselves. So you master that process, number 1. Number 2, start reporting to your senior partners when you're booking your follow-up and the strategy or the process you use to get people to lead you to someone new, right? No matter what it was. Hey, who did they lead to? And what did you do to get them to do it? Again, sometimes it could take 4, 5, 6 days, guys. That doesn't mean you're failing. That just means you lost your progress in 72. Now you're regressing. You got to catch that and re-get progress again, right? It's not a perfect world, but just keep that in mind, okay? So that's the second thing, is start reporting that to your senior partners so we know, and we're going to do the same thing with each other, right? We're accountable to each other. We have groups of us that are right from the leadership side that we keep each other accountable, right, at times. So we're going to do that to each other. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is start showing the plan to yourself at least 2, 3, 4 times a week with a pen and pad and master it with the process. So Gina, why don't you wrap us up?
Yeah.
And then if anybody wants to, if you want to get anybody else to contribute or comment, I said my piece tonight, and I hope you guys all got this. These are 3 game-changing strategies can completely change where you go and duplicate success and leadership in your team faster than any other way I know how, for sure. So Gina, can you wrap up with a pen and pad plan showing and the benefits and values before we answer some questions?
Sure. Yeah. So Don was right. Like this is really how I learned really what the plan was. Like I knew, like he said, I understood it enough to know that there was value, but when I really learned how, what our compensation was, like all of the things that we say during, when we're showing the presentation digitally, I don't know that I would even have been able to do the slides the way that I do them now if I didn't draw it out first. Like I never showed the plan that way. And honestly, it intimidated me. Like when I would go to UBPs, I literally would be like, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to do that. But because I learned how to draw it out, and just so you guys know, this, I don't know if you could see this, but this is Don's drawing of the plan showing. So like, I know that looks like a bunch of scribble, but what I did was when he came the first time to help me start building and he drew it out, I sat there, I booked all of these appointments and there was times where we had one appointment after another at the coffee shop and he would draw it out and I would watch. And then I kept this and I would use this as my guide, and you can do that. So you can draw it out, like watch the video that Don's talking about, draw it out along with the video. And then when you go to show it to somebody, have the drawing sitting. I have 2 pads. I would pull this out and I would lay it there. And Claudette probably remembers because the first time I showed Claudette the plan, this is how I showed her. And I was still learning. So I said, I just have this here to help me so I don't forget anything. And I would put that pad there and then I would take the second one and I would just glance over and I would use that as my guide. They couldn't even read it because nobody can read Don's writing, but I knew what it said because I had watched him do it so many times. So I knew what it said and I would just draw it out. And So, and I saved all of these and I miss it so much drawing it out, but I have like, this whole pad is full of plan showings that I drew out and then I had to start a new one. But it really is. So it's in 4 sections, just like when we show it with the slides. We're going to go through the background of the company and it's so quick when you're drawing it out. That's the other thing. I was talking to Claudette today and I was like, we really need to start meeting with people in person again, drawing the plan out for them, because it really is an overview. And what I love about it is that it's so much more like a conversation than a presentation. I love the fact that when you're sitting with somebody and you're drawing it out, you really are, instead of talking at them, you're actually having a conversation with them and you're just jotting things down as you're talking. So it makes it so engaging, and you're literally building a rapport with them while you're sharing the business with them at the same time. And that's what I love about it. And I think like, it's just so powerful. When you guys start doing it, you're going to love it. So you're just going to draw it out in the different sections. So it's just like the first, I don't know if you can even see this, but if you can see, this was my drawing, but the first section is just, background of the company. The second section is how we earn money, just like we talk about when we show the slides. So you just go through the 3 ways that we earn money. The third section is what we're not. You draw out the horizontal structure, just like what the slide shows, and you go through it using the examples that we use. And then the 4th section is what we are and how that compares to what we're not. And that's it. And you're literally just writing out exactly what we say when we show the plan. But instead of a slide being there, you're just drawing it. But it's so, to me, the more I did it, and honestly, like the first time that I drew it out, I didn't even know that Don was going to make me do it. Like I had sat there and listened to him, and Jason was there too when he did this to me. And he's like, okay, we were pulling up and he's like, so you're going to draw this one out. And I was like, no, I'm not. But if he didn't make me do that, and like, that's why he's encouraging you guys to do it and draw it out along with the video yourself, and then show it to yourself, show it to your dog, your kids, whatever, but do it, because once you start saying it and drawing it out loud, what you know, you're going to realize you know way more than you think that you know. Because I didn't think that I did fumble, but he was there to clean it up for me. But it only took me one time to fumble through it. And then the next day we went back and he was like, okay, you're going to do it again. And I drew it out and it was like, it all just came out. So the more you say it, and you guys have all been, a lot of you, I know, especially from my team, all you've seen is the slides, and you've listened to this plan shown over and over and over again for a year. What your mind remembers is going to amaze you, because you're going to sit there and you're going to be, I think, I don't know if Jamila's still on here, but Jamila practiced and she said that went through the plan and said it out loud. And she's like, I can't believe that I knew everything that I knew. But you're never going to know until you do it and you say it out loud. But drawing it out is really going to help you all understand the structure of what we have. And it's going to build your belief. And it's so much fun to do. And like I said, just being able to engage and have the conversation. But that's all I really have on that.
Awesome. No, I love that. And that was perfect. So the bottom line is, guys, even if you don't end up showing it to other people by drawing it out and you still use the slides, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But you might use the drawing out version at a second look or to clarify something that they're confused at from the slides. If you need the slides, it's fine to use them when you're doing first looks. I don't ever draw it out if I have a group larger than 3 or 4 people, ever. I like to use a pen and pad with small groups of people. Bigger groups, I always use it, but it works out really well. So anyway, any questions before? In fact, so that's it. And so we gave you the action. That's all it's about. I'm going to stop the recording now.